For more than 4 decades, the United States and Iran have existed in a state of hostility, sometimes quiet, sometimes explosive, but always tense. It started in 1979 with the Iranian Revolution and the hostage crisis at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. Since then, relations have swung between sanctions, proxy conflicts, nuclear negotiations, cyber warfare, and the occasional direct strikes, but never full-scale war, until now. On February 28, 2026, U.S. and Israeli forces launched a coordinated strike against Iran called Operation Epic Fury.
Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world.
The assault included air and naval operations targeting key Iranian military infrastructure, missile facilities, drone factories, and the core of Iran's leadership.
The former regime had every chance to make a peaceful and sensible deal. But Tehran was not negotiating. They were stalling, buying time to reload their missile stockpiles and restart their nuclear ambitions. Their goal, hold us hostage, threatening to strike our forces.
Within hours of the first strikes, President Trump announced that the military action killed Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, a shocking development that instantly transformed geopolitics in the region. Following Khamenei's death, Iran quickly appointed his son, Mojtaba Khamenei, as the new supreme leader. The Trump administration has publicly rejected this succession.
Look, as President Trump has blatantly and frankly stated, it's obviously within the best interest of the United States and the West to no longer have a radical terrorist in charge of Iran, especially as we see their reaction to Operation Epic Fury. They had their missiles turned towards our Gulf and Arab partners in the region. Again, this was a regime that chanted, or still chants, death to America. We look at the way that they are holding the entire world hostage with restricting of the free flow of energy through the Strait of Hormuz. So the president, I think, is making quite an obvious comment. Again, as for the timeline of the military operations with respect to Iran, we have objectives that we have laid out that the commander-in-chief wants to see achieved. When they are achieved, then it will ultimately be up to the president to end this operation.
The United States and Israel described the campaign as necessary to halt Iran's nuclear ambitions, degrade its missile capabilities, dismantle its naval power, and disrupt its ability to support allied militant groups such as Hezbollah. This marked the most significant military action involving American forces since the Iraq War. Iran responded with waves of military and drone attacks across the Middle East, targeting Israeli cities, U.S. military bases, and infrastructure in Gulf nations like the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. Explosions have rocked Tehran and other major Iranian cities, while air defense systems scrambled to intercept incoming strikes. Iran has also reportedly fired missiles towards Saudi Arabia and Qatar, and drones have been intercepted over Turkey and other neighboring nations. The conflict has drawn in Iran's aligned groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, which launched counterattacks on Israeli territory in response to the strikes, prompting further Israeli bombardment.
This is some new video into the newsroom from overnight showing the IRGC here launching these long-range missiles you see in this area at Israel and U.S. bases in the area. The video is taken on the streets of Tel Aviv, and you can see all the lights in the sky. This is that cluster of bombs that we talked about right here. Many of those can get past the Iron Dome there in Israel. That's shown to be pretty problematic, as some can slip through, and that allows the chance for those to hit those folks on the ground and buildings in the area in Tel Aviv and around Israel.
Within the first 100 hours of an attack in Iran, a U.S. submarine struck an Iranian warship with a torpedo, the first time that's happened since World War II. 140 U.S. service members have been wounded since the war with Iran started, according to the Pentagon. Last week, 6 U.S. soldiers were killed in Kuwait after a strike hit a makeshift operations center they were in. All 6 soldiers were assigned to the 103rd Sustainment Command, an Army reserve out of Iowa. The 7th U.S. soldier died sustaining injuries from an Iranian attack at Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia.
The Joint Force remains eternally grateful for your sacrifice and the gift of a great example that your service members have given all of us. I want you to know that their names will never be forgotten, and you and your family are part of our Joint Force family forever.
Much of the airspace in the Middle East closed due to the ongoing missile and drone attacks across the region, leaving tens of thousands of people stranded. Since the attack started, more than 23,000 flights have been canceled. Dozens of countries, including the United States, the United Kingdom, France, and Germany, have organized chartered flights for their citizens. Around 20,000 Americans have returned to the United States since the strike started on February 28th.
With every passing day, our capabilities get stronger and Iran's get weaker. We set the terms of this war, from start to finish. Our ambitions are not utopian. They are realistic, scoped to our interests and the defense of our people and our allies. Speaking of people, we hope the Iranian people take advantage of this incredible opportunity. President Trump has been clear, now is your time. To Iranian security forces, choose wisely. President Trump has also been clear about your fate in either direction.
Pentagon officials, including Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs General Dan Kane, say the campaign aims to decisively weaken Iran's military capabilities and prevent nuclear proliferation.
The Joint Force remains focused on 3 military objectives. Continue to destroy Iranian ballistic missiles and drone capability in order to prevent attacks on the U.S. and others throughout the region. And this means attacking launch sites, command and control nodes, stockpiles before they can threaten our personnel, our facilities, and our partners. Second, we continue to strike the Iranian Navy and their capabilities in order to do things like sustain movement through the Straits of Hormuz. And third, we continue to start working on and going deeper into Iran's military and industrial base in order to prevent the regime from being able to attack Americans, our interests, and our partners for years to come and project power outside their borders.
Hegseth has declared new strikes, quote, the most intense yet, asserting the U.S. forces are targeting embedded military infrastructure and Iranian naval assets. General Kane reported significant reductions in Iran's offensive capabilities, including a sharp decline in ballistic missiles and drone attacks, and widespread damage to Iran's naval assets.
Our strikes mean we've made significant progress in reducing the number of missile and drone attacks out of Iran. Ballistic missile attacks continue to trend downward, 90% from where they've started, and one-way attack drones have decreased 83% since the beginning of the operation. A testament to our air defenders and our air defense systems, and as I said, our partners in the region continue to do great work as well.
The U.S. military has also emphasized that it's not pursuing long-term occupation or, quote, nation building, but rather a campaign with clear military objectives.
The president has made it clear to those concerns that we're not getting pulled in any direction. We're leading. The president is leading. He's determining where we want to go, what the outcome will be, what the end state is, with a very keen eye. The president also stated from the beginning that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. And it's one thing to say it. It's easy to say. Anybody can say that. I mean, Barack Obama said that. But to do something about it takes courage and resolve. But in that courage and in that resolve, you can also be very scoped in what you're trying to execute to ensure that the sacrifice of Americans, American treasure, American lives, all of those properly meet the objective that you're trying to accomplish. And certainly, as someone I talked out front about what the Iranians have done to our generation, yes, we're clear-eyed about it.
The conflict has disrupted the global energy markets by affecting traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, a critical maritime route for nearly 20% of global oil supplies. The closure of the strait has sparked rapidly rising oil prices, with major oil producers in the Gulf also cutting oil output. Iran reportedly started laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz, with President Trump announcing hours later on Truth Social that the U.S. had, quote, hit and completely destroyed 10 inactive mine-laying boats and/or ships, with more to follow. 3 ships have since been hit by unknown projectiles, with Iran claiming that it had launched its most intense operation since the start of the war. The UK's maritime agency reported that 2 cargo vessels and the master of a bulk carrier were under attack, resulting in a fire on one of the ships. Crew members from ships were reported to be safe and accounted for. World leaders have also been urging de-escalation. French President Emmanuel Macron, for example, has spoken with Iranian leadership to urge a halt to regional strikes and to protect the Strait of Hormuz. The United Kingdom has sent HMS Dragon, an air defense destroyer, to Cyprus, a UK ally and location of 2 British military bases, after the RAF base on sovereign British territory was hit by an Iranian drone, with further attacks being intercepted. Prime Minister Keir Starmer also said he was sending 4 more Typhoon aircraft to Qatar for defensive operations, amid his strong views of needing to de-escalate the situation. Italy's Defense Minister Guido Crosetto said Italy, as well as other European partners, are planning to send naval units to provide support for Cyprus. As the war enters into its second week with no clear end in sight, U.S. and Israeli forces are continuing intense air and naval strikes, while Iran forces continue to retaliate. The National News Desk will continue to follow this story and bring you the most up-to-date developments.